Hi everyone! In this video, I wanted to share with you a review of a book that I recently finished, and the title of that book is The Art of Black Mirror Scrying. Ooh. It is written by Rosemary Ellen. I believe her last name is pronounced Guiley, but I'm going to just say her name, Rosemary Ellen, throughout the duration of this video as not to offend the author. The reason that I selected this book was because it was actually recommended to me by my friend. My friend is in Chicago. He is studying medicine, but he is a very deeply spiritual person, and he purchased this book along with the scrying mirror. So he has been practicing with his scrying mirror. So I decided to get this book as well, and I also purchased a scrying mirror, which is hidden in its protective covering. When I first saw this book, I did not know that it was going to hold such a wealth of information. It was more information than I actually thought was going to be in there, so I am very satisfied with reading this book. I learned a lot. I also enjoyed how mysterious the cover was, because when I'm riding the bus, sometimes I'll be reading a book and people will come up and literally just talk to me and try to bother me or question me about my books. But when I was reading this one, nobody came up to me. In fact, they moved away. So I'm going to carry this as my on the bus book if I don't want anybody to talk to me. So I'm going to read to you Rosemary Ellen's biography, and then we will get into what I learned from this book, going by each chapter. So, Rosemary Ellen is a leading expert in paranormal, metaphysical, and spiritual fields. She has written more than 50 books and has studied psychic development and spirit communication methods throughout her 30-year career. She is the creator of Necromantium, a special event of guided black mirror gazing to introduce people to the ancient art of scrying. So this is her. She's all dressed and mysterious. I like it. I'm liking this jacket. The publisher is, let me see, Visionary Living Inc., and it is visionaryliving.com. The cover design is by Raul da Silva and Ray da Silva. So I guess if you want a cover design, you can go to them, or you can go to me. I don't know. We shall see. So this book was published in 2014, so it is relatively new book-wise. It's only 5 years old. So before I get into this book, I wanted to tell you what my thoughts about scrying were. I did not know anything about scrying. In fact, I thought scrying was something else completely. When I first heard the word scrying, I actually thought it was somebody like taking a pendulum, even though this is an incense stick, and using the pendulum over water or over a map to find the location of a person or to find out what was going on in somebody's life. So I was somewhat close. As far as scrying, I knew about mirror magic, but I did not know it was called scrying. I knew that people could do deep meditations just looking into the mirror. I knew that people could change the physical appearance of their faces by doing magic in the mirror, but I did not know that you could use a black mirror in order to have conversations with those who had passed on into the next life. So in chapter 1, she goes through, I guess, the history, the art of scrying. She pulls from history, different cultures using scrying, the Greeks and the Romans, where the word scrying comes from. I don't know. It means the term scrying comes from the English word from the early 16th century, descry, which means to succeed in discerning or to make out dimly. So that makes a lot of sense, because if you're using a black mirror, you're really going to have to just focus on this mirror, but not really be too concentrated in the mirror. Just let things calmly pass you by, let things become a blur. But also to make out dimly, because most of the time when you're using a black mirror, a lot of people that I've heard of and read about have used it in a darkened room where there's really no light except candlelight, because you want to truly see the image before you. It makes it easier to see this image in your mind's eye. And sometimes you will see this image with your physical eyes as well. She brings up scrying in the Bible, which slightly surprised me, but not quite, because I grew up in a very religious school. And of course, we weren't taught about the divination in the Bible. I did not find out about that until I was older. So as far as divination in the Bible, I knew about the and the if I'm pronouncing that right, or sortilege, like sorting out different things, casting lots, all of that stuff, casting out demons, exorcisms, all of that. But I did not know that mirror magic was in there. And she uses the example of Joseph. I get them all confused. Joseph in the Bible. Joseph, as you know, the dude with the coat of many colors, the one whose brothers basically backstabbed him and sold him into enslavement. He was the one that had visions and prophecies, and this is what led him to his position of ruler over Kemet, if that did or did not happen. But it says in Genesis 44, Joseph, the son of Jacob, refers to a silver cup that can be used for divination. There is no description of Joseph actually using the cup himself, or whether the divination was done by gazing at the silver metal or by gazing upon water in a cup. Joseph was already known among the Egyptians as an expert interpreter of dreams, and perhaps he wanted to appear to have other skills as well. Whether he actually scried or not, he knew the power of it. So you don't just have to have a scrying mirror, which I learned from this book. You can also have a bowl and look in water. You can use a lake or stream as your scrying mirror. She also mentions that you can even put black ink in your hand and use it for scrying. When I was looking up different scrying devices last night on Amazon, I saw a necklace. It was like a pendant, and it was used for scrying. You could hold it in the palm of your hand. So you can be very, very creative with these things. Also, before I read this book, I did not know that you could make your own scrying mirror. I thought that it had to be something specially made, something that had to go through a very difficult process in order to darken the mirror. I did not know that it could be easily made. I did not know that I wouldn't even need a mirror. I could just get a black bowl. Things I learn every day. So if you are a person who is on a budget, you can use ink blots. You can use the darkest black paper that you can find, or even get one of those little pendants from online. She talks about people in history who used scrying mirrors. So she mentions John Dee, Nostradamus, the guy that had the prophecies. Now, before this book, I had heard of John Dee. My friend in Chicago was the one that told me about him. He mentioned him in Enochian, which is, I guess, supposed to be the language of angels. So I didn't know much about John Dee or Edward Kelly, but she really ties in this scrying with the things that they did and how, I guess, the misuse and abuse of it led to their downfall. You're supposed to use the mirror in a positive way. You can use it to gather information. You can use it to even communicate with those who have passed on, or for spiritual development. But to use it as a plaything is kind of insulting, and it is also kind of dangerous. I don't truly do anything with mirrors as of yet, and it's based off of the things that occurred in my old apartment. I had a mirror in my room, and my old apartment was very, very haunted. Sometimes I wake up and there'd be somebody at the end of my bed. So when I go to sleep at night, I either cover all of my mirrors or I turn all of my mirrors to the wall. So right now, I am reading this book and I'm getting more comfortable with using mirrors as a tool. She also talks about how, I want to say, Mesmer used scrying mirrors in order to cure people of diseases. How, oh my God, there's so many things, but the thing that stood out the most for me in this book was the communication with the dead. And she shares stories of people that have communicated with those who are on the other side, loved ones that they either had a falling out with or they didn't get closure over their death because the loved one died suddenly. She states that some of these people did see the loved one in the mirror. Some of them actually saw the loved one with their physical eyes. Like they walked into the room. I don't know if it was with their mind's eye or if they physically walked into the room. Now, I'm more so on the side they physically walked into the room because I have seen some entity, and it looked like a person, at the end of my bed. Same thing happened with my great-grandmother. She could see dead people. My grandmother woke up, somebody's on the side of her bed, stuff like that. So doing this, using black mirrors as a form of therapy, really helped people to get closure for the death of their loved ones. They also used it for past life regression. So they would look into their past. And some people think that with a black mirror, it's like, oh, the visions will just come fluidly. It'll be as clear as day. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it is clouds, like foggy, or the mirror will start to vibrate, or what do you call it? It'll look like the ripples of an ocean. It will start to ripple. Other times you won't see anything, but you will have a very vivid dream at night. You can also use the tarot as a way to get images, like ask the mirror a question and then select a tarot card, and that will be your answer, or you can meditate on it. You can use another person to scry with. There was one example that she said where you basically, I guess you're looking into the mirror, but not quite. You don't want to see your reflection. You want dim light. And there's somebody looking at the back of your forehead behind you, if I'm saying this correctly. And that is how you're getting information. But I could not put this book down. Just the weight, the length of this book, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get that much information. Well, I was wrong. I am so sorry for underestimating you, Rosemary Ellen. I did not know I was going to learn this much in under 200 pages. Literally, it's only 160 something pages. She speaks of visiting a psychomantium, which, okay, the first one that she went to was, I believe, or maybe it was her mentor or something. She said, in 1994, I had the opportunity to go through Raymond Moody's psychomantium. I traveled to his home in Alabama, where his theater of the mind was still set up in a walk-in closet. So she describes this room that he left her in. He did a session with her because she wanted to speak with her father. And let me see. She said, when I finished talking about Dad, Raymond ushered me into the small chamber that was the psychomantium itself. The floor, walls, and ceiling were covered in black fabric and carpet. On one wall was an enormous arch mirror in a gilt rococo frame. I'm pronouncing that right. Facing it was a winged armchair with its legs removed so that the body of the chair rested directly on the floor. Behind the chair was a tiny Tiffany lamp with a dim bulb. The mirror was silvered, but the black chamber that was reflected in it made the surface appear black and bottomless. I'm like, ooh. Like, me, I'm the type, you bring me to that room, I'm gonna run out. Cause I'm so scary. I'm such a scary person that I have been spending this year making myself confront my fears, confront this darkness, because in the darkness, it is really just you. So her goal was to speak to her father. She said, I gazed into the mirror, going beyond the surface and into its infinite depths. I thought about Dad and relaxed. And she mentions a smoky film, which is something that my friend in Chicago talks about. He talked about the mirror was rippling. The mirror was rippling. And he's actually another reason, one of the reasons that I did not try mirror anything for the longest time, because he shared stories with me of people who did use mirrors for getting information, and they would see terrifying faces. One of them, a hand reached out and tried to pull them into the mirror. So that is why I was so hesitant for a very long time. But, you gotta face your fears. Nothing can harm you if you are divinely protected. She states that the mirror seemed to grow larger and come closer to her. The clouds returned and they coalesced into a shape, a being of light. It was a human-like shape, or it was human-like in shape. Visible from the shoulders up, the head had shadowy suggestions of eyes, but no facial details. It seemed to be composed of glowing golden white light, surrounded by a halo, penetrated by streaming rays of lights that went off the boundaries in the mirror, of the mirror. And she's like, what am I seeing? Is it an angel? Dad in a new form? So it technically was her father. It was her father. Sometimes we will see energy in angels, and it isn't what we think that they look like. I know of a woman that saw an angel, and it wasn't in a human form. It was actually a beam of golden light that was so tall and reached up into the heavens. And that was what the angel was. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's you, And she looked into the mirror the next day because she had a question and was asking about something. When she looked into the mirror, she saw her own face. She's like, it's you. So using the scrying mirror as a tool for your mental and spiritual healing is a very, a good out-of-the-box thing to do. Sometimes you've gone through therapy and it hasn't helped. Sometimes you've tried to change your diet, your clothing, your lifestyle, all of that, and something is just not shaking. So sometimes you have to do something completely different in order to move past this blockage in your life. Near the end of the book, she talks about mirrors and legend and lore, like if you want to see who your future spouse is, if you want to find information on someone. She also talks about the moon phases and mirrors as well, how to make one, and testimonials. So one testimonial was, hold on. Female, age 40. I asked to see my younger sister who died when she was 5 and I was 10. I saw an image of her in the mirror. She appeared grown up, but I knew it was her, even though she never got the chance to grow up in life. She told me that people keep changing and growing in heaven. I told her I was sorry we never got to grow up together. She said she was always with me, and all I had to do was think of her. It is true what they say. The dead are right beside us, a blink of an eye away. We talked about some other things, personal and family stuff. I know I will see her again. And I just thought that was so beautiful because I had, I've had about, for like over the past 10 years, like 7 classmates die, and one of them was named Jesse. And Jesse and me grew up together. We were like little children. So one year in 2012, Jesse was in Hawaii and he fell to his death off of a balcony. I know, it was crazy. So this is what started the whole people that I knew passing away visiting me in my dream. So I guess it was true what she said about the sister still developing in heaven, because I saw Jesse and he came to me, but I couldn't touch him. He was transparent. And he's like, I was like, Jesse, how are you? He's like, oh, I'm fine. His arm was broken though, which I thought was kind of strange. And after that, every single friend that died, or almost every single one, right after they were buried, they would visit me in a dream to let me know that they were okay, that they were doing okay, everything was fine. And I believe that using the scrying mirror as a tool will become, in the future, one of the newest technologies to communicate with the dead. There's a man right now who is creating a phone to communicate with those who have passed over in this life. The people who have gone out of our lives to the great beyond, into heaven or wherever they're going, they really are right here. You know, you hear of those stories where a person is on their deathbed and they look up and they see their mom, or they see their dog, or they see butterflies. There's always somebody there to meet them. And the only proof that I have in my life was my mother's ex-boyfriend, who I had known since I was a child. He was dying of lung cancer. And this was a whole man who was basically an atheist, okay? He was on his deathbed and he said, I see Bev, who is his sister Beverly. His sister Beverly had passed like a few years before. And he said, she's going to go get Mom, who had also passed. So you see, if you are going through something, if there's somebody you want to speak with or get closure with, then purchase the Black Scrying Mirror. Use this book as a tool to help you. You don't have to be, in pain or distraught forever. And if the person does come, don't be surprised if they look like a different form. Because they were utilizing this physical body doesn't mean that they're going to approach you in this physical body. Sometimes you'll ask for somebody else, because some person asked for their grandmother that had passed when they were a little boy, and they ended up getting a completely different grandmother, which was the grandmother that they did not get along with. And as a result of meeting that grandmother, they cured the karma between them. So yes, I give this book a very big thumbs up. I'm definitely going to be purchasing more of this lady's book. She has 50 books, so I'm sure there's going to be one that I will find interesting. And everybody have a happy reading day. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.